2025 was a huge year for us at the Think Solar Group. We stepped foot into our new office, welcomed a ton of new staff, opened 2 new branches in Nelson and Timaru, and we completed 559 individual solar installations. While those numbers are great, we are seeing parts of the solar industry starting to shift. Global manufacturing rules are changing, installer standards are tightening, technology is evolving, and local electricity networks are adapting to support more solar than ever before. All of that matters because it shapes what solar looks like going forward. So in this video, we're breaking down the key changes that will define solar in New Zealand for 2026. To understand where the industry is heading in 2026, we need to start overseas, specifically in China. For the past decade, China has dominated global solar and battery manufacturing. One of the reasons these components became so affordable worldwide was a government export rebate system that reduced the cost of Chinese-made panels and batteries. That is now changing. From April 2026, China is ending export tax rebates on solar panels and related products. This means manufacturers will no longer receive a refund on tax when exporting panels or batteries. This removal of a long-standing incentive that helped keep global panel and battery prices extremely low means price increases may happen this year. On top of this, manufacturers are also dealing with rising material costs. Solar panels rely heavily on silver for electrical contacts inside each cell, along with aluminium for frames and copper for wiring. Silver prices in particular have climbed sharply recently, driven by growing global demand from solar, EVs and wider electrification. When you combine higher input costs with the removal of export rebates, it helps explain why panel prices are no longer falling the way they did a few years ago. So why does that matter here in New Zealand? Because New Zealand imports all of its solar panels. When manufacturing costs rise at the source, that pressure eventually flows through the supply chain. This doesn't mean that prices will suddenly spike, but it does mean the era of continuously falling panel prices is likely behind us. Another important change shaping the solar industry in 2026 is happening closer to home, and it centres on installer standards. From September 2026, electricians installing grid-connected solar and battery systems in New Zealand are required to hold accreditation. This is an additional endorsement issued by the Electrical Workers Registration Board that confirms an electrician is trained and competent to work with systems that connect in parallel to the electricity grid. Solar and battery systems are more complex than standard electrical work. They generate power, export to the grid, interact with batteries, and provide backup power during outages. This accreditation raises the baseline. For you, this means greater confidence that your system is installed correctly, safely, and to a consistent national standard. For the industry, it marks a shift towards solar being treated as a specialised trade rather than a bolt-on to general electrical work, which it rightly deserves. The next major shift we are seeing in 2026 is coming from the inverter side of the industry. For years, battery options for three-phase homes and businesses have been limited. Most hybrid inverters were single-phase, which often meant complexity or extra hardware was needed. In 2026, Fronius is rolling out a true three-phase hybrid inverter called the Verto Plus. Not a modified string inverter or a bolt-on battery solution, but a purpose-built hybrid designed to manage solar, batteries and three-phase power all together. Three-phase power is extremely common in New Zealand, particularly in larger homes, rural properties and commercial sites. We've installed a number of great three-phase setups, but the job's about to get a whole lot easier. A proper three-phase hybrid inverter simplifies system design, improves performance, and removes many of the complexities that previously existed when adding batteries to three-phase properties. This signals to us that there is an industry shift where batteries are no longer treated as optional add-ons, but as a core part of the modern solar system. This matches what we see in the market, where 80% of our customers are choosing to have a system installed with a battery. The next factor affecting solar in 2026 is one we are all aware of: power prices. Power costs have continued to rise year on year. Last year, the price of electricity rose a whopping 11.3%, which is the highest single year rise we've seen since 1989. However, there is some good news. Solar acts as a hedge against these increases. Every unit of electricity generated and used on site reduces exposure to future price rises. Additionally, panel efficiencies continue to improve. Panels being installed in 2026 produce more energy from the same roof space compared with systems installed just a few years ago. For example, 5 years ago, your average panel may have been around 350 watts maximum, whereas today we're seeing an average of about 450 watts. Third, electricity networks are becoming more solar friendly. More electricity distribution businesses are increasing export limits and operating with wider voltage tolerances. These changes to export limits mean you can export more solar power to the grid, in turn making more money. When you step back and look at all of this together, one thing is clear. Solar is no longer being pulled forward by subsidies, falling prices or novelty. It's being pushed forward by necessity. But despite this growth, New Zealand's wider economy is still heavily dependent on fossil fuels. Around 60% of our total energy use comes from oil, gas and coal, and most of that fuel is imported. Electrification changes that equation. Using electricity instead of fossil fuels for hot water, heating, cooking and transport shifts energy demand towards locally generated power. Solar plays a key role in making electrification work at the household level. Rooftop solar allows homes to generate electricity exactly where it's used, reducing reliance on the grid and cutting exposure to rising retail power prices. With an election coming up in November, energy policy will shape how quickly this transition continues. For homeowners and businesses, it is worth paying attention to which long-term plans focus on renewables, electrification, and reducing reliance on imported fossil fuels. Because those choices directly affect energy prices, resilience, and the cost of living over the next decade. It's easy to see that in 2026, electrification is no longer a future concept. It's becoming the foundation of a lower cost, more secure energy system, and solar is one of the most practical ways New Zealand homes can take part in the shift. Every day, our whole team across the South Island works really hard to help move the needle that extra little bit. Let's make 2026 the year that you go solar and join us in this movement.